So, little dreamers, before we begin our magical journey together, please ask your grown-ups to tap that sparkly subscribe button for Siyona stories. It helps us share more enchanting tales with children just like you, all around the world. Once upon a time in a cottage where morning light danced through lace curtains and wildflowers nodded sleepily in the garden, there lived a boy whose heart was as big as his dreams and whose name was whispered on every gentle breeze. He shared this cozy home with his dear mother, whose hands were gentle, but tired from working sunrise to sunset, trying to make their simple life bloom with love even when their cupboards whispered of emptiness. Their little cottage sat like a jewel in a meadow where butterflies painted the air with dancing wings and streams sang lullabies to the sleeping stones. But as beautiful as their world was, their purse had grown as light as dandelion seeds floating on summer wind. One morning, when the last coin had been spent and their faithful cow needed a new home, the boy's mother wrapped him in the warmest hug her arms could hold. "My brave heart," she said, her voice soft as flower petals. "Take our dear cow to market and trade her for enough coins to fill our cupboards with joy again." The boy set off along the dusty path where dewdrops still clung to spider webs like tiny crystal chandeliers. His steps felt heavy with responsibility, but his eyes sparkled with the kind of hope that lives in young hearts like hidden treasure. The cow walked beside him with patient grace, her bell tinkling a gentle melody that seemed to call to the morning birds. Along the winding road where wildflowers grew in patches of purple and gold, something magical was waiting to happen. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, painting everything in shades of honey and cream, the boy met a mysterious old man whose eyes twinkled like stars caught in morning dew. His beard was white as fresh snow, and his smile held secrets that had been growing for 100 years. "Where are you going, young dreamer?" the old man asked, his voice warm as fresh bread and kind as summer rain. "To market, sir," the boy replied politely, "to trade our cow for coins so my mother and I can buy food for our table." The old man's eyes grew bright with ancient wisdom. From his weathered pocket, he pulled out a small cloth bag that seemed to glow with its own inner light. "These beans," he whispered, opening the bag to reveal 5 seeds that shimmered like captured rainbows, "are not ordinary seeds, brave one. They carry magic that only grows when watered with courage and tended with a believing heart." The boy looked at the glowing beans, each one no bigger than his thumbnail but somehow feeling as important as wishes made on shooting stars. Something deep in his heart told him these tiny seeds held more value than all the coins in the kingdom. "I will trade my cow for your magical beans," he said, his voice steady with the kind of knowing that comes from somewhere deeper than thinking. The old man smiled a smile that could have lit up the darkest cave. "Choose wisely," young heart, for magic always comes to those who believe in the impossible. When the boy returned home with his handful of glowing beans instead of jingling coins, his mother's eyes filled with worry like storm clouds gathering before rain. "Oh, my dear child," she said, her voice trembling like leaves in autumn wind. "What have you done? How will we eat? How will we live?" In her disappointment, she took the beans and scattered them into the garden, where they disappeared into the dark earth like fallen stars sinking into midnight. That night, as the boy lay in his small bed listening to his mother's quiet tears, he whispered a prayer to the moon that hung like a silver lantern in the star-scattered sky. "Please," he breathed, "let the old man's words be true. Let magic grow where hope is planted, and magic, dear ones, has a way of listening to the wishes of pure hearts." As the boy slept, the earth began to hum with ancient power. The scattered beans drank in moonlight like liquid silver and starshine like golden honey. Deep in the soil, tiny roots began to stretch and grow, reaching toward dreams that lived somewhere between earth and sky. When morning painted the world in shades of rose and gold, the boy woke to a sight that made his heart flutter like butterfly wings. Outside his window, where ordinary garden plants used to grow, stood the most magnificent beanstalk anyone had ever seen. The magical vine twisted and spiraled up, up into the clouds, its leaves rustling secrets that only the wind could understand. Each branch was strong as an oak tree's arm. Each leaf sparkled with dewdrops that looked like diamonds, and the whole wonderful plant swayed gently as if it were dancing to music only it could hear. "Mother, come see," the boy called, his voice bright with wonder. "The beans have grown into a stairway to the sky," his mother gasped, her hand fluttering to her heart like a surprised bird. "My child, it's impossible. Plants don't grow to touch the clouds." But there it was, magnificent and real, reaching up until it disappeared into the cotton candy clouds that drifted like gentle dreams across the morning sky. The boy's heart filled with the kind of courage that grows when magic calls to adventure. "I must climb it, Mother. I must see where it leads." Higher and higher he climbed, his hands gripping each branch while his feet found perfect places to step. The beanstalk felt alive beneath his touch, warm and welcoming, as if it were happy to carry him toward whatever waited above the clouds. As he climbed through the soft, pillowy clouds that felt like climbing through whispered dreams, the world below grew small as a picture in a storybook. Finally, his head popped through the top of the cloud layer, and he found himself in a land that existed only in the most magical fairy tales. The ground was made of clouds that felt solid as marble but soft as flower petals. Gardens of starlight flowers bloomed in every direction. their petals chiming like tiny silver bells when the breeze kissed them. A castle made of golden stones and roofed was captured. Sunbeams stood in the distance, so magnificent it made rainbows look pale in comparison. But from within the castle came a sound that made the boy's brave heart beat faster. The footsteps of someone so enormous that each step shook the cloud ground like gentle thunder. Fee, fi, fo, fum, came a voice deep as mountain caves. I smell the courage of a small one. The boy hid behind a starlight flower as big as an umbrella, watching as the largest person he had ever seen stepped out of the golden castle. The giant was not mean or scary as giants in other stories, but his size alone was enough to make anyone feel as small as an ant at a picnic. But this giant's eyes were sad, not angry, and when he spoke again, his voice carried loneliness that touched the boy's kind heart. So many years I've lived in this cloud kingdom, with no small friends to share stories with. The boy's fear melted like snow in spring sunshine. He stepped out from behind the flower, his heart full of the same kindness that had made him trade his cow for magical beans. "Hello," he said, his voice small but brave. I climbed the beanstalk to see what magic lived above the clouds. The giant's face lit up like sunrise over mountains. "A friend, a real small friend, please come share my table. I have golden eggs from my special goose, and a harp that plays the most beautiful music in all the world." And so the boy spent the day in the cloud kingdom, sharing stories and laughter with the lonely giant. He learned that the giant's golden eggs weren't just treasure, but gifts meant to help those who had courage to climb toward their dreams. When evening painted the sky in purple and gold, the giant filled the boy's pockets with golden eggs. "Take these to your mother," he said, his voice warm with friendship. "But remember, the greatest treasure isn't gold, but the courage to believe in impossible dreams." Down, down, down the boy climbed, his heart full of wonder and his pockets full of magic. When he reached the ground, his mother's eyes grew wide as the full moon when she saw the golden eggs that would keep them happy and fed for many years to come. But the most magical part wasn't the treasure. It was what the boy had learned, that when we plant seeds of courage and water them with believing hearts, even the most impossible dreams can grow into adventures that touch the sky. From that day forward, whenever the boy looked up at the clouds, he could see the top of his magical beanstalk swaying gently in the wind, reminding him that magic lives everywhere for those brave enough to climb toward their dreams. And his mother learned that sometimes what looks like foolishness is actually wisdom wearing a disguise, and that the greatest treasures come not from playing it safe, but from believing in the magic that lives in every courageous heart. Remember, little dreamers, that inside each of you lives a beanstalk waiting to grow. All it needs is the courage to plant dreams and the patience to let magic bloom in its own perfect time. Thank you for joining us on this magical journey to the clouds. Don't forget to watch more enchanting bedtime stories in our Siyona Stories playlist, where every tale is filled with wonder, wisdom, and the kind of magic that helps little hearts grow brave and strong. Sweet dreams, dear ones, and may your own dreams reach as high as the tallest beanstalk.